Good morning. Welcome to day two. This is a pretty good place in North Jericho, aka becoming Aquaman, aka the Iron Chaplain. Okay, let's get into today's episode. I'm gonna try to keep it short just because I don't have a ton of time. Definitely pressed for time. And but I don't know, the topic I'm talking about, I can go short or I can go long. We'll see how it goes. Just fair warning, I am in Round Mountain. Okay, let's get started. We're doing a walk here. I am 1.75 miles, 48 minutes into this walk. We'll sitting for some of it. So, okay, here we go. Is the second day of 2026. Some of you have already messed up your New Year's resolutions. Some of you didn't start them and probably thinking maybe should have. And some of you set goals that are far too small. So I want to tell a little story. I've struggled this year. I haven't a long time with setting goals. And I think part of it is because I have not gotten clarity. I think part of that is because I'm still working through some stuff and some vision stuff and direction stuff. So it's hard to set goals for the year. But like, we haven't worked through this other stuff yet. So normally somewhere between November and early December, I have all my goals set and I have everything figured out. The last few days of December, I've kind of already started the next year because I'm working ahead and I'm anxious to get going. And I've had a lot of rest from the holidays and Christmas and stuff. And so I get going, right? I'm working on getting my goals for 2026 already. This year's a little different for a lot of different reasons. Some of them I've talked about, some of them I haven't. But one thing is, a few weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, I told a few people, I told my buddy, Pastor Doug, I told my wife, Brandy, that 2026, I said, I'm determined. So 2025 is the year of pruning. And, we went through a bunch of stuff like all of a sudden yesterday's episode, when we talk about some of the hardships and some of the pain, the trail, and some of the things go through 2025. And, I made a comment to Doug, like, so I kind of was like, oh, I don't want another year like 2025. And I told Doug, I said, well, on the flip side, I feel like the growth I normally go through in 1 year, I feel like I went through that like an interval of 3. So as hard as some of the things were, and a lot of people who left our life in 2025, I feel like I grew 3 times as fast. So as much as I didn't like the pain, I definitely like the progress. So I definitely still want to be growing in 2026. So then I came to this thing where I said, you know what? 2026 is going to be like a year of, I'm not like a big word for the year guy, that's been on my mind this year. And I was like, if 2025's word was pruning, then 2026's year is going to be advancement, right? And basically like things like almost like a bamboo shoot, right? How they really sit there, nothing happens for 8 years, and then boom, they grow like 6 feet or more in the process of a few months. I'm like, this is gonna be it. And how I said it was, I said 2026 is gonna be your advancement, even if I have to carve it out of not stone, granite slabs with my bare hands. And a little less than a week later, I told Doug, I said, I'm wondering if maybe I was off on that. If maybe that's more of a 2027 thing. It's like, because now kind of what I'm sensing is that 2026 is more of a year of final refinement, where, for years I've been like processing and refining and working on things. Like maybe 2026 is a year of finalizing. And it's not as sexy as saying advance, but it's more of a year of like tamping down and really shoring up the foundation. So I went a few days with that, and that was my mindset. Not nearly as exciting, kind of hard to focus on goals. Like, okay, well, what are my goals for this year? If this is the last year of the old rather than the first year of the new, that's not super exciting. I get motivated about that. Okay, we're getting that last 1% of growth, before we're ready to, or internal growth before we're ready to go out. Like, that's not super exciting. But if that's the thing, that's the thing. And a combination of a conversation I was having with my kids last night that I felt like God kind of put something in my spirit. and waking up this morning, and I came across something which I feel like was God ordained for me to see. And I felt like a supernatural challenge when I saw it. And I'm not going to go into what it is or any of that stuff, but basically, I feel, and what I feel like the supernatural challenge was, so then I got up and I was kind of processing this morning. I feel like what the supernatural challenge was is, like, God was basically showing me, okay, that refining version of 2026, where nothing really takes off, but you're just building a base, you're building a foundation, you're honing some final skills. I feel like God was saying, that is what will happen. That's like what's set to happen right now. Like, if you go into 2026 and just let 2026 happen, that is the year. That is what is on the docket, basically. Like, I'm showing you the future. That is what will happen. But I'm going to challenge you to make the other one happen. The whole advancement, like, that's not going to happen. Like, the advancement one. But you can make it happen. And I felt like God was basically challenging me, if you step up and do all the really hard things, and can endure doing all the really hard things for this year, you'll end up making the other one the reality instead of you'll make the advancement the word for the year instead of the tamping down and shoring up the foundation, the word for the year. So I'm like, and then I said, this was a combination of, he said, this was my spirit last night. And then I got up this morning and I saw a specific post and immediately felt like that spiritual challenge. So I came over to church and I've been praying and processing, and I've even been talking to Doug a little bit. And so like, okay, well, yeah, go for it. So, okay, you're thinking, how does this apply to us? How does this apply to us? I want to challenge you to reassess your goals. First off, if you don't have goals, I'm not like saying you need New Year's resolutions, okay? Years ago, I had an intern ask me. I moved to a new church. He was my youth intern. At the time of this story, he actually was the interim youth pastor of the church I had left. And I'm now at a new church, and he came up to visit, and it was, New Year's. And he asked me, he said, "Do you have any New Year's resolutions?" I said, "No." I said, "Really? Why not?" I said, "Because I don't need to. I can lie to myself any time of the year. I don't have to do it on the first." All right, and that sort of always gets a good laugh. But I was being really honest, because I'm like, I know I'm not going to follow through, and then I can literally go on and lie to myself and then make a change, and I'm not going to. I can do that anytime. I don't have to make a big fuss about it when everyone else does. A little bit of like a non-conformist. I'm like, if everyone else is doing it right now, I'll wait a couple months and do it, right? So I want to encourage you, even if you're not like, okay, not New Year's resolutions, and even if you don't like the word goal or whatever, you need to have, in fact, I preached on this last Sunday, you need to have a vision for your life. And you got to pray, you got to seek the Lord, you've got to have a vision for your life, or what your life is about. Otherwise, you will just get carried around. Think of it as like a boat, like a paddle boat or a rowboat. And if you have a family, then now you've got multiple rowers on the boat too. And if you don't have a vision, you guys are all just sitting there with your oars across your laps. And if it's a calm day, representing a calm season, you guys just kind of stay in place. And maybe one year you get lucky and the winds are favorable and they blow you towards progress. And it feels like, yeah, we're doing really good this year. And other times there are storms. But if you don't have a vision of where you're trying to go and have a direction and put the oars in the water and fight back against the current and the winds, you're going to just be taken around wherever they are. So I want to encourage you, you need to have a vision for your life, even if it's by your recollection small. I've been praying for small vision for years, right? God's giving me a big vision in my life. I'm like, Lord, how about you just let me pastor in church of like small little rural church of like 25 people and be faithful there for 25 to 25, right? I'll give my reward in heaven. Well, I am now pastoring a rural church. He did finally, after a year of wrestling with him, he did let me do that, but then he gave me two rounds apart, and still bigger vision. So, I wanted Gary talked about if there's a pill that could like take 10% off of ambition, if you would take it, and you could have a little bit more peaceful of a life. I feel like I kind of have a version of that first, or sorry, just up there, but you know what I mean. So even if it seems small in your eyes. Pray, seek what is the Lord giving you to do, and then go after that. Let that be your vision. And so then your goal should be based on what that vision is. And where do I see myself in this vision this year? And pray about that too. God gives you a yearly, refresh your vision. And then you build out for it. And I can't tell you how many times we've gotten into something. Well, the pandemic is a great example. So many people were caught unaware. I wasn't. Because I knew something was coming. I didn't know it was going to be the pandemic. I thought it was going to be like a financial collapse. But I had been seeking God, and He showed me, hey, something's coming, and where you guys are, you won't make it, you won't survive. And He moved us to an area, to a harbor that could weather that storm and had us grow and prosper. And through all that, that would have never happened if I wasn't seeking the Lord and getting direction for our lives and for the vision He'd given me and keeping it updated. As Habakkuk says, right? Like, make it plain, write it on a tablet. I know that there's a primary, that's more of a secondary interpretation of that. It's not the primary, but the principle is there, right? It's not one of the verses necessarily trying to teach, but the purpose, the logic behind what I'm talking about, the principle is there in Habakkuk, right? Make it plain, make it where it's easy to see. You want to do a vision board? It's got to work for me. You want to do your affirmations, your monthly letters, none of this stuff doesn't really work for me. What's worked for me is having a clear vision in my mind's eye that I wake up every morning thinking about, and I go to sleep every night thinking about, and it has me focused all throughout the day to keep focused on that vision. And the years that I've had that are wonderful, and life is great. And depression can't really seem to find a way in, and all these other doubts really struggle. And the years that I don't have that, the doors are open, depression can come on in and chill, you can see it anytime it wants, doubts come in, all the voices are in, all the stuff's there, right? So I want to encourage you, if you don't have the begin to seek the Lord, but it's already too late for it. Yeah, who cares? Screw it with your resolution. You need a life vision. I like to talk about it as like a calling. It was like my favorite thing to preach on is a calling. But really, I'm kind of shifting my language here over these years to like a vision. You have to have a vision for your life. Because I don't necessarily like the idea of having a calling, a ministry calling that's sometimes held separate. I think that's how a lot of times we lose our families, is because we're, especially as men, we're so obsessed with our ministry calling. I'm like, bro, screw your ministry calling if you can't take your family with you. Like, you have to be a complete human first. And if you're gonna lose your family and lose that stuff in order to fulfill that calling, you've disqualified yourself. That's why we have so many scandals and issues with quote-unquote successful ministers. For me, it's the Jason Momoa test, right? It's like, you can look at a lot of Hollywood actors. It doesn't matter how successful they are, if they suck, if they're terrible people, and they're miserable, or they make other people miserable. I call it the Jason Momoa test because, yes, even though he's super successful, he's not the biggest star. He could be bigger. He's had a lot of criticism lately because he's kind of like, he's no longer got that Aquaman one body. But go watch some of his stuff. Follow him on Instagram. Go watch his On the Roam series. Bro is happy as can be. He's fulfilled, and he lights other people up. Like some of these stars who are so much bigger than him, make so much money than him. He has such an impact. When he goes in and does, people just love him, and it's not like this fake, like, never meet your heroes. Like, when people meet him, it just brightens their day, right? And so I'm like, I need to be Jason Momoa. There's other similarities there with the hair and all, I get it, okay? But I need to be Jason Momoa in the fact that not only do I need to have that quote-unquote success in the main thing I'm pursuing, but all the little orbits around my life also need to be successful. My marriage, my relationship with my family, my relationship with those around me, the church, the ministry, people everywhere, right? And so I'm like, I need to be more like Jason Momoa in the fact of, like, it's not so much that you're focused like on one thing that everything else falls away. But what is your vision? Stop trying to achieve something 10 levels past your vision. No wonder everything else is falling apart. What is the vision? What is the calling, right? But, like life vision better because it encompasses all areas of your life. And I'm really into this thing right now with this idea of just like looking at that Jason Momoa effect on Christian life to the point where Doug and I are kind of stepping away in some areas. So Doug's my youth pastor, associate pastor. Because it's like, okay, so many people put us up on a pedestal as, well, you're the senior pastor, you're the youth pastor. So you guys, your example, your stories are encouraging, but we don't have to pull ourselves to those because you guys are ministers. And so like we're kind of taking a conscious step back from some of that and trying to go while maintaining, so it's that whole breakdown between the secular and the sacred. And most people are like, yes, you're in the sacred, so we're in the secular world. We're trying to get a little more into the secular in terms of he's got some, well, we both have some plans for working on some stuff at the schools this year and getting more involved. I'm really focused on the chaplaincy, which is basically lets me take the sacred, walk down from the pulpit, walk out from behind the pulpit, and walk into the marketplace, into the secular, and showing what it looks like to make the secular, everyday secular sacred as a believer. So I think that's really all of our calling is to make the secular sacred. So, okay, I know that was, I think I'm a little manic this morning, at least right now, because I got some insight on some stuff that kind of shifted me up a little bit. I've had a lot on my mind, I've really been, with some other stuff going on and holidays, and so I know this is a little manic, a little high energy today. Probably not quite as well organized as most days, but I'm hoping to help you a little bit. And again, I just want to challenge you, if you don't have a vision for your life, begin to pray to the Lord. That's your most important thing. I guess you go to work and take care of your family, all those things. But you need to start praying for a vision, a life vision, a calling, whatever it may be, and then all those next steps follow. And then I want some of you, if you haven't updated in a while, if you haven't sought the Lord in a while, yours might be stale. You might still be going off of the fresh word from last year or even a couple of years ago. That was one thing, and I'm not going to go into details. I felt kind of challenged last night in our conversation is I've been holding to something from the Lord, but I'm like, ooh, that might be stale. That might be a couple of years outdated. I might need to go back and maybe this is some of the friction I'm feeling is because my reality is that I'm holding up to this vision, and it's because this vision needs some updating, and I need to go back to the Lord and get some update on this. So, love you guys. Have a blessed day. I'll see you tomorrow on the next episode.